me, Jaggi of FanSided, here with NFL expert Marcus Mosher as we talk about the championship round games, Marcus, that we just witnessed. One was extremely high scoring, back and forth, just couldn't have been more exciting. The other one kind of had a different feel to it. We saw wind, we saw snow, low scoring game. What did you make of the two games that we just saw in the championship round, Marcus? Patriots, Broncos, and then Rams, Seahawks.
It was almost like we were watching a different sport between the two games, right? Like one was just a slobber knocker, physical football game. And the other one between Seattle and Los Angeles, it's not like those teams have bad defenses by any stretch, but you saw unbelievable quarterback play and offensive play calling. And I get it. In the Denver game, the weather was bad. The snow didn't help. You had Jarrett Stidham playing at quarterback. Like, I get the reasons why it looked that way. But it was kind of ridiculous to see how different these two games could be. And honestly, this is why we love football. It's because no one game is similar to another. I thought it was a really fun weekend.
Absolutely wild. I mean, it truly was. When you look at the NFC Championship game combined, Marcus, for over 850 total yards in that game. The AFC Championship, they had trouble reaching like the 350-yard mark, and so couldn't have been more different in terms of the style of play. I mean, the AFC Championship game, we're talking less than 3 yards per drop back. I mean, and then we're talking about 10 yards per completion in the NFC Championship game. Let's start with that one over here, Marcus, the more exciting of the two. And man, I mean, I think that you and I and a lot of folks out there would probably argue that this, in a sense, was the Super Bowl right here. I mean, these two teams were the best teams in the league. That's when we talked about them since the middle of the season. Seattle has been red hot. It's almost unfortunate that the Rams had to go home after how well they played in this game. Matthew Stafford, 374 yards, 10.7 yards an attempt, 3 touchdowns, no picks, an 81.5 QBR, a 127.6 passer rating. And then Sam Darnold on the other side said, anything you can do, I can do. Not better necessarily, but the exact same. 346 yards, almost 10 yards an attempt, 3 touchdowns, no picks, 127.8 passer rating in this game. Was this like the best, I won't say the best, but one of the best quarterback games that you've ever seen? In terms of both quarterbacks just dominating in a championship game like this?
I'm struggling to think of ones that are better, and I'm sure they're out there. We've had some really good ones between like Troy Aikman and Steve Young in the 90s, or even, Troy Aikman and Brett Favre. I think the difference in this game was how creative the play callers were on both sides. And I think that's what makes it different. Like, I don't want to discount Sam Darnold at all, because I thought he played about the best game I've ever seen him play. Like, of all times for him to have an awesome game, he had it in the NFC Championship game. But just some of the stuff that Clint Kubiak was doing, lining Jackson Smith and Jigba up in the backfield, getting Cooper Kupp, across the middle on key 3rd and 4th downs, and designing pick plays to get him open. It was just a masterclass of offensive play design. And listen, if you're one of these teams out there that still needs a head coach, you're looking for the next one of these guys that can scheme things open and give you such an advantage. Like, this Seattle defense is unbelievable. But I think Matt Stafford in his last 2 games against Seattle threw for over 800 yards and 8 touchdowns, and he lost both games because that's how good Seattle was on the other side of the ball. It was a joy to watch, and you're right. Like, it's really unfortunate that a team like the Rams, who might be at worst the second best team in football, like Seattle beat them, I'm not convinced that they're actually better, isn't even in the Super Bowl. It's just, what a weird season.
Such an entertaining game. And you said it. I mean, it's a shame that they had to go home. I think also, Marcus, the 2 best receivers in football in 2025 in this game, going at it. Puka Nacua, 165 yards and a touchdown. Jackson Smith and Jigba, 153 and a touchdown. I mean, these guys have been so efficient all year long. You talk about 2 1,700-yard receivers meeting together in the same game, and they did not disappoint either. But again, you said it, like, these are 2 good defenses here. Seattle in particular, I mean, maybe the best defense in the league. And the fact that they allowed 470 yards of offense and almost a 400-yard passer in this game it's just a testament of how good Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay are with Puka and with Devontae Adams. And they just had a field day, and it still wasn't enough in the 31-27 loss.
And that's why all season long, you and I have been on this podcast saying that we felt like the NFC was a lot better top end than the AFC. Maybe the depth was better in the AFC, but these top end teams are absolutely outstanding, and they just can get to a different level on offense than everyone else. On top of that, they've got awesome coaching. Their defenses fly around. Does that mean that Seattle's a shoe-in to win the Super Bowl? No, because anything can happen in a one-game sample size. But I think you and I were right here that it just felt like these teams all season long, Seattle and I was going to say San Fran, they're in the conversation too. Seattle and Los Angeles, they were the best two teams in the NFL all year.
Yeah, and Marcus, I think part of the irony with all of this is we're about to get two defensive-minded head coaches in the Super Bowl. We'll talk about the Patriots here in just a second. Mike Macdonald, awesome all year long. On the other side for the Rams here, we've got Chris Shula, who is one of the young up-and-coming defensive minds in the NFL. And I think that he's done a great job all season. But they meet together in this game, and it was the story of the offensive coaches. It was McVay's mind against Kubiak's mind. And my goodness, if you go and look at some of the play designs, and you mentioned that already, but just those shallow crossers, pulling defenders away and getting guys wide open, schemed wide open in this game. It was an absolute masterclass, I thought, from Clint Kubiak in particular, but McVay had his share of moments in this game as well. And so I think it kind of overshadows the defensive coaches that were in this game.
Yeah, we should overshadow those guys because they're awesome as well. And we'll talk about Mike Vrabel and Mike Macdonald as the two head coaches in the Super Bowl and whether defensive-minded coaches are back. I would also mention like Josh McDaniels, Clint Kubiak, two of the best offensive coordinators in the league. I think it just goes to show you need to have an awesome coaching staff if you're going to want to, perform well in the postseason. Even look at the teams that lost. Sean Payton, Vance Joseph, one of the best head coach defensive coordinator pairings in the league, or with the Rams with Sean McVay and Chris Shula. You can't have a subpar coaching staff, even if you've got an excess amount of talent, if you want to get into the championship games.
In Marcus, maybe that's the way the league is trending. Maybe it's not just you need that coach quarterback combination. Like it does seem to be, at least for these final four teams that were in it here, the entirety of the coaching staff, like top to bottom, really, really good staffs overall. All right, you're tuned into Stacking the Box, where NFL fans come to talk, celebrate, and debate. For more coverage, head at FanSided.com, powered by the passionate fans at FanSided. You can check out some of Marcus's work over there and on the FanSided NFL Network as we cover the championship games and prepare for the Super Bowl here in a little bit. Marcus, let's talk about Sam Darnold here for a second. His success. Is this going to impact teams moving forward? I mean, you talk about a reclamation project success story. I mean, this is one of the few, and I think that you could even, at this point, I mean, especially if he wins the Super Bowl, which we can give our predictions here at some point. We think it might be trending that way, by the way, seeing as how.
But even if he doesn't, even if he doesn't, I don't think it matters.
Even if he doesn't, Sam Darnold, one of the best success stories in NFL history in terms of a quarterback who went from nothing, and it was just seemed washed with the Jets, and then goes to the Panthers, and then goes and ends up being a backup for Kyle Shanahan briefly there. And then these past two seasons, what he did with the Minnesota Vikings led them to 14-3 record, what he's doing with the Seattle Seahawks, and what he'll probably do with them in the future. I mean, he's younger than Joe Burrow. And so to see this, how does this impact multiple teams around the league who have not found their franchise quarterback? Are they going to be way more apt to take a chance on a free agent flyer, a Malik Willis out there, or try to reclaim Kyler Murray or a quarterback of the like?
I think so. First of all, we just don't have that much talent in this year's draft class, and we didn't have a lot of talent in last year's draft class. So I do think you're going to see teams taking swings on highly thought of quarterbacks, at least at one point. And I think for Darnold, like, you could always see the talent, even when he was with the Jets. I mean, some of the throws that he was making were unbelievable down the field, but the supporting cast wasn't great. He wasn't getting credible coaching. It just felt like he needed to go to the right situation. And I thought last year he found it with Minnesota. That was a team a couple plays away from being the number one seed. And then obviously he found it with the Seahawks this year. I do think there is something for getting these guys fresh starts. And you mentioned Kyler Murray. Considering how bad that Arizona situation has been the last couple of years, I think he's somebody that's worth taking a chance on. We'll see about Malik Willis. We've only seen Willis in a couple games play well, and they've all been as a spot backup starter. But I do think there are going to be more teams, instead of reaching for a quarterback that doesn't deserve to be in round one, taking a flyer on one of these guys, saving the cap space, using it on your defense and your supporting cast to give yourself a shot to go out and make a run.
Yeah, and you talk about that cap savings. I mean, we're looking at like half the price of a Tua Tagovailoa, a Brock Purdy, a Trevor Lawrence, and considering how good Darnold has been, I mean, he's worth every penny of that and more. He's worth the $50 million contract the way he's played, and he's getting half of that.
Well, let me ask you this, Tommy, because I think we were trending in a similar direction with Daniel Jones before he got hurt. Now, I think that was maybe a little bit more unstable, but Daniel Jones was playing the best football of his career, and I think was Indy 8-1 at one point, 7-1 before he got hurt.
Yeah.
Baker Mayfield has had a nice little bounce back with Tampa Bay. I do wonder if you're going to see more and more of these teams doing that with so many of these guys having success elsewhere.
Yeah, and we've talked about, Marcus, how it reaches a breaking point. There are certain quarterbacks that I think the NFL needs to start saying, I can't pay these guys what they're asking. I can't give them the $275 million contract. I can't give them $52 million a year. Where that point is, I think that there's going to be a lot of discrepancy, and different experts will have different opinions on that. But I think that we're finding that out now, that these contracts can really hurt some of those teams. It hinders you. It takes 15, 18, 20% of your cap space that you could be using to bolster your roster. And that's a problem that Seattle doesn't have. They have the extra cap savings because of such a team-friendly Sam Darnold deal, where they can keep talent around him. And maybe that's what we're finding is just more important.
And that's why they were able to go out and get a DeMarcus Lawrence, who really added a physical piece to their defensive line. They added Cooper Kupp this offseason. They traded for Rashid Shaheed. They had a lot of flexibility at how they were able to build their roster, where a lot of these other teams, even the ones that have franchise quarterbacks like Buffalo and Kansas City, it's basically just draft and develop for those guys. And if you miss on a pick or two, it can really set you back. I do wonder, it's gonna be hard to say which quarterbacks for sure are going to be in that range. Like, is Tua a guy that does he need to change his scenery? Is it Kyler Murray? I don't know. We can have a discussion about that at another point, but I do wonder, with a lot more younger GMs looking at the trends of the NFL, if we eventually get there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's certainly trending that way. And I mean, Darnold is a guy now who has made the best quarterback record of anybody over the last 4 seasons now, dating back to multiple teams. And I think that this success story is going to just prompt more and more of that. Why not try your luck with a QB reclamation project? Heck, look at this upcoming draft here, Marcus. Outside of Fernando Mendoza, it looks very grim at the quarterback position. And so a team like my Pittsburgh Steelers, would they try something like that? There's already whispers that maybe they would be in the market for a Kyler Murray or someone who can come in and maybe be that next Sam Darnold for their current situation. All right, from the highs, the lows, the heartbreaks, every headline, everything in between. This is Stacking the Box, your source of NFL talk, powered by FanSided and the voices at FanSided. Marcus, let's talk about the AFC Championship game now, and namely the New England Patriots. And what they've done is impressive. But I think a lot of people would argue, too, that you did what you would expect a good team to do against the schedule. I mean, the Patriots now, Marcus, they are 16-3 over the last 19 games. Their last loss came back in September. They have one loss since September. They've won 15 of their last 16 games. 15 of their last 16, including their postseason wins. I mean, is this not what you would expect an elite team to do? And somehow, in some way, even with all of that, they still might not feel like a Super Bowl team. Do you think that the Patriots feel like a Super Bowl team right now?
No, and the reason why, and it's not their fault, it's that they don't have this signature win against kind of like a proven team. Like I compare this Patriots team to a lot like the 2021 Bengals, who got to the Super Bowl in Joe Burrow's second year, and they won a lot of low scoring games throughout the postseason, right? But they beat the Kansas City Chiefs in the championship round in Kansas City against Patrick Mahomes, and that really felt like, okay, now we're here. They played the Broncos without without Bo Nix. They played the Texans without Nico Collins. They played the Chargers without both starting offensive tackles and their left guard. That's not to take away from those wins, but I think if they would have beaten the Bills with Josh Allen or the Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes or a healthier Chargers team, it would feel more real. And I know that's not a great way to put it. I wouldn't be surprised if they win the Super Bowl because they're a very tough physical team that's well coached. They've got a quarterback that can make plays with their legs, but I think we're still looking for that signature win against a proven team, and it might happen in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. I mean, the reality of the situation is they got very fortunate with the quarterback schedule that they got to play this year. I mean, it really couldn't have been easier in a lot of ways. I do think, Marcus, they have the two things of the formula that you need, the prerequisites there that can help you win any game, even against a superior team like the Seattle Seahawks. And they are certainly better. The roster wise, top to bottom, they are a better football team. But when you have a top 2 MVP candidate at the quarterback position, and you've got a really good head coach in Mike Vrabel, that can sometimes be enough. And I don't know if it'll be enough in this case, but that's what they have going for them. The problem is the rest of their roster is kind of underwhelming. And it just does not feel like a Super Bowl roster to me. Yes, you've got a Stephon Diggs in his older years now. Rest of the wide receiver room, there's probably room for improvement there. I think that May did a great job and McDaniels did a great job getting the most out of Kayshon Boutte, getting the most out of Kyle Williams and the guys that are there. You could probably improve on that side. You could probably improve the inconsistencies on the offensive line. And then you look at the defense, which, by the way, ranked out as one of the top defenses in the league this year. They just don't have much star talent outside of a Christian Gonzalez. And and Milton Williams was awesome this year as well, but lots of room for improvement still, I think, on that roster. And I think that that's where they are so far behind Seattle right now.
Well, and what's funny is, yes, I think this roster is going to really improve over the next couple of years because they're going to have a bunch of flexibility with Drake May on a rookie contract. They had a bunch of cap space, but this is probably their best shot at winning a Super Bowl, right? Because of the way things fell, because there was no Patrick Mahomes and they missed Josh Allen and they missed playing Bo Nix and a fully healthy Broncos team. This is probably their shot. But again, I think Vrabel's a heck of a coach. I would not be surprised if they pulled off this massive upset in the Super Bowl. And we're talking about the Patriots being one of the most unlikely Super Bowl winners in the last 10 years.
Yeah. I mean, it's a 1-game sample. It's not like you need to win a series like you do in basketball or baseball. If they can do that, I think that it would be an impressive feat. And maybe, Marcus, it's as simple as Sam Darnold coming back down to earth for just 1 game here and Drake May having the Drake May game that we know that he can have.
Or turnover luck, right? That's the big thing in the NFL. Sure, You look at whoever wins the turnover margin, they're going to win 90% of the games in the league. New England's been fantastic at forcing turnovers and not turning the ball over, at least in the regular season. It's been a little bit of a different issue in the postseason, but we'll see. It's quite the season for New England.
Marcus, let's wrap up here with the Denver Broncos. And I know this has to be really disappointing for Broncos fans. I mean, you were in this game. It was a game decided by a field goal. By the way, there were a bunch of missed field goals in this game because of the weather, the wind, a block. I mean, there were opportunities to get there, and it just makes you wonder, had Bo Nix played instead of Jarrett Stidham, maybe the Broncos are in the Super Bowl, and maybe their top 3 defense in the NFL is good enough to get them a Lombardi trophy, Marcus. And I want to kind of shed some light on the future of Denver here. What does it look like for the Broncos moving forward now? Are you sold on Bo Nix? I know that he was kind of middle of the pack, 14th in the NFL in QBR, but he was top 6 in EPA per play this year. And so is that going to be enough? Is what they have collectively on defense? You got some really nice pieces with Pat Surtain and Nick Bonito. are they set up for the future where they're going to have success again? Or was this their best chance? Because now we look ahead in their own division, we could see a bounce back year from Pat Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. We can see the LA Chargers coming to form with Mike McDaniel as their offensive play caller, getting their offensive tackles back. In the same way as the Patriots, there probably was never a better year for the Broncos, right?
Probably not. This probably was their best chance, but I actually think this Broncos team is set up really well because it sure looks like they're going to keep Vance Joseph on the defensive side. That's a massive addition if they can keep him. The defense is very young. They're all under contract. Bo Nick's still on his rookie deal, just like Drake May. The offensive line's really good, and I think Sean Payton's going to continue to add some talent on that side of the ball. This was the number 1 seed in the AFC. I think if they would have just had a top 25 quarterback, they probably win this game, Tommy. And honestly, if Jarrett Stidham doesn't throw the ball away or fumble the ball away down there at his own 12-yard line, they probably win this game. They were very close to, going up 10-0, 14-0. New England's offense never really moved the ball all game long. I think Denver's going to be just fine, but it is frustrating that they kind of blew this chance to go on a real Super Bowl run.
Yeah, 7 points in the championship game is not what you want to see, regardless of the defense that you're playing against. And again, we talked about the elements were a huge factor in this game. Still, you're doing it with a backup quarterback. And it's just not an ideal situation to have your starter break his foot right before the biggest game that he's ever about to play. We can go on and on about that. But I think if you're a Broncos fan listening, the future is still bright. Don't give up hope yet. Nope. You could be right back in the hunt in what could be a wide open AFC again next year. All right. This is the Stacking the Box show. We premiere every Tuesday evening. Be sure to check it out. You can follow Marcus's work on X at Marcus Mosher. You can follow me on X at Tommy Jaggi. You can download the Stacking the Box podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Also check us out on YouTube, or you can follow Marcus's written content on the FanSided NFL Network and fansided.com, my written content on stillcurtain.com. Make sure you go to fansided.com for all your daily sports news and opinions. And thanks again for listening to the Stacking the Box podcast.